And we're live, and we're back after Codegarden. Hey, Marcin, how you doing?
Hey, Callum, I'm fine. I took some rest after Codegarden properly as well. What about you?
Yeah, I
Busy
think
as
I,
usual?
I think I needed to do that. It has been business as usual, and probably busier than usual this week, unfortunately, given that the whole team was unavailable for 3 or 4 days last week. But we had a really good time, and from my personal perspective, uh, it was far more enjoyable than I'd hoped. I made no secret of the fact that I went into this being a little bit negative. It's not going to be the
Yeah.
same, and it
Yeah,
was good. I enjoyed it. What did you think?
yeah, I completely agree with you. I also had some lower expectations that it will just be and we will forget about it. But then it just surprised me positively, and we were highlighting it more than once during after show as well. That it's just it was something what we all needed probably. And as usual, Code Garden and this time of the year is something what I've been using for personal motivation and some
Yeah.
increased motivation to do more, to be involved more. And I really, really hope, and maybe if you're watching us, let us know if it works the same for you. That I feel like now motivated. I want to do more. I want to just dive here, dive there, and see if I can help, if I can find something useful. So,
I, I
so
certainly
it did
feel
the
more
job.
I certainly feel more motivated. It's not on the same level as Code Gardens have been in the past. I also didn't have as big a hangover this time, which was quite good. I'd said this, I think, on maybe one of the unofficial after parties, that actually the few the past few years from Code Garden, I've come away with so many things that I want to do and so many ideas that
Mm-hmm.
actually I end up getting really kind of down and a bit depressed about it because I can't do all of them. And sometimes, feeling a bit demotivated, sometimes
Yeah.
after a bit deflated. And that wasn't the case this time. So it was kind of a lighter Code Garden than it has been in the past. And yeah, got some ideas, and we had a load of things to celebrate as a team as well, which was nice.
Yeah, that's true. And as usual, we were trying to find a lot of reviews and also impressions how Gold Garden was received by some other teams, other community members. There are some of them already highlighted, and as we've said it on the after show, share them more and let us know about them. Speaking about after show, we probably will focus about it when we will be talking about the videos and recordings
Mm.
and the upcomings. But yeah, let's dive into the reviews because there were some good highlights of what people learned during the Code Garden. And to be honest, I even found them very useful as a summaries to just share with people maybe who didn't attend the event to highlight some of the key notes and or announcements being made during the Code Garden, right? So this is from the Just After Midnight team from Ned. Short summary of the major announcements here. Then Braze Digital team also did a review with some reference points to the past and good picture from the Code Garden
Yep.
back in the days, but also with a good summary of some of the talks which the team in Braze attended. Uh, and yeah, we need more. We need more summaries. We need more personal opinions and some maybe findings. But hopefully they will come after also videos being maybe released. Some of the people who wanted to just get back to talks and slides, because I still have a couple talks which I need to either rewatch or just
Yeah.
redo in my head at least.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. I think one of the most common bits of feedback I've heard about Code Garden was people didn't quite realize that it was just a continuous stream of videos, absolutely
Yeah.
no breaks whatsoever, and people would find themselves 6 hours later sitting there still engaged with the content. But it did burn you out quite quickly, and so people would flow from one talk to the next. And I know myself, like I chose to do my talk live, which was always going to be brave, and I had loads to talk about, and I know I ran over by a couple of
Mm-hmm.
minutes because 30 minutes is a really short window to give a highly
Oh
technical
yeah.
talk. And yeah, it was tough to keep up the pace and keep switching from one topic straight into another. There's definitely things I need to go back and rewatch and catch up on. And let's not forget for day two, where you would have missed half of the content because you would only have to watch one stream.
I did some hacking, I must admit, because there was one or two slots which I couldn't decide what I want to watch. So I've just inspected the sources of the iframes being used by the tool, opened it in another browser window, and just tried to switch the volume on one and the second talk just in between of some slides. And yeah, I completely agree here that we need to just catch it again and rewatch some of the talks, plus slides and stuff like that, which will help us to get to the points which were highlighted during the talks itself.
Yeah.
Package Manifest team also released a podcast episode all about Codegarden. I didn't hear it yet, but
I did. It was a fantastic episode. And they did a really good job of summarizing not just their highlights, but actually the key takeaways and what the impact is going to be for them as people migrating their big projects to .NET Core, and also the future of the back office, and leading into what we're going to see in the future. So highly recommend giving this one a listen. It was really good. I think also maybe the first podcast summary of a Codegarden, because if you think about it, we've had this idea of like podcasts in the Umbraco community a little while. umbraCoffee's obviously been around, coming up to, is it 4 years? 4 years this year.
I stopped counting
a
while ago.
I mean, we're coming up to 4 years later this year. That's insane. But umbraCoffee's been around. We do our summaries, but the Package Manifest podcast is relatively new. The Candid Contributions podcast started last year. I know Bob and Kevin have got their show, but it's not really Umbraco focused, and because of where they're located, it's not really easy to come to Codegarden. So yeah, I think this is the first podcast summary, and it was really good. Highly recommend listening.
Cool. And there are some other summaries which we are used to as well, such as meetup summaries. I always like them. I was giving the one on Polish meetups back in the days when I was able to travel to Denmark and see the content there and transfer it to the other community members locally. And same is done here on the Glasgow Umbraco meetup this week or the next week.
Coming on Tuesday.
Coming on Tuesday. So if you are a member of Glasgow Umbraco meetup group, or it's still online, right?
Yeah, it's all virtual.
Yeah, it's all virtual. So not only if you're from Glasgow, but if you want to enjoy, just join the catch up and see what happened there and discuss the latest Umbraco news, just do it there. Callum, what was your personal highlight from the Codegarden besides the things which you've mentioned already? Yeah,
like I say, it was a really good event for our team, and that was great. I enjoyed Joe's talk on shaking to the core about .NET 5, which was a really good kind of light breeze through what we can expect with the coming stuff. And then it was nice to go a bit deeper into what's changed in Umbraco with Bjarke and Elitsa's talk. I think we said this last week, but big kudos to Bjarke and Elitsa for delivering an incredibly slick and informative talk. Shannon's talk was good. A lot of stuff in there that I knew, and a lot of stuff that it was like, okay, yeah, that makes a load of sense. I hadn't considered that. I don't know if this is controversial. I'm going to say it's controversial. He controversially advocated for hard coding IDs, which is something that I think we kind of been trained not to do. And then he said, that's often going to be the most performant way of doing it. And then I did think about it, and he's probably right. And maybe he's right. In terms of hard coding IDs, maybe not actually hard coding them, but prefetching and
doing the job based on the ID. That's what I would say, right? It's not like traversing and searching for content all the time, because we can, but just being aware that this content has a unique identifier, and it can help us retrieve this extremely fast. Thanks.
Exactly. Yes. So that was a big highlight. What about you?
Yeah, same here. I didn't want to highlight talks because obviously I didn't attend all of them. Plus, I also liked Shannon's talk. I also like the cloud talk. But I wanted to highlight all the awards, to be on package awards and general awards on the day one. Probably for the first time, I just fully attended it, to be honest. Previously, it was just like I was watching what someone did, and then I checked what the projects there were. But this time, I fully watched it. I focused. I really enjoyed the summaries and the nominations. We were of course nominated as well, so which it brought some of the joy to the whole party. But then package awards as well, to just see what other packages were just highlighted, with who won. And
were were a highlight that I heard a lot of people coming back with, and it's the first time this has been done. Of course, there's Beta Garden to show off like things people are working on, but nothing that celebrates stuff that's happened in the past 12 months or so. And it was great to see Vendor and Usync and these behemoth packages actually recognized, and some smaller newer ones as well.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that would be my highlight. But of course, talks and all the rest still are on the top of the list. And if we're talking about talks, of course, it was mentioned during the event. The talks are right now processed, and they will be shared on Umbraco Umbraco HQ channel on YouTube. Yeah,
there's a playlist where they're adding them all to, isn't there?
Yes, and they will be shipped in the blocks, which is something.
I've got some information from a secret source at Umbraco HQ who very rarely feeds us information for umbraCoffee episodes, and they are saying that they're going to be released in blocks. So you'll have noticed that the Codegarden schedule was kind of blocked out with 3 or 4 talks, and then an unconference session. And so every single week on a Wednesday and a Friday, they're going to release one segment, one block. So that will be the 3 or 4 talks plus the unconference session up on the YouTube channel. And already they've done the keynote. They've done a few of the first stint of like HQ focus talks where they did some of the back office updates and the best of breed and the MVP awards and all of that stuff. That's already up there, including our very, very favorite Danish baking show. But the rabbit videos will come too, and then there's a pre-party video and a pre-show. It's all up there. It will all be
or after show and stuff like that. Yeah, and of course, also the secret source revealed that there is still something to be left as a kind of gaps and missing spots to let everyone enjoy what they've enjoyed while participating the event. So still there's a lot of things to be rewatched. We really enjoyed it, and I think it's again worth to highlight and send big high five, Urok, for everyone who was involved in creating this event and making it happen. Because
last week we shouted out to, well, actually maybe people didn't see this. So Marcin and I had the pleasure of closing up Codegarden for the first time, and it was good fun. We did we did a closing show, and we tried to make it a bit like how we would have when we normally at Codegarden we sit on some dodgy brown sofas and drink
with
beer.
Our special umbraCoffee drink.
Indeed. And we try and just gather people from the event to try and get a sense of what's going on. And if you didn't see that, we'll see if we can get the recording, because it was good fun. We had a nice surprise, which we'll talk about in a sec. But I was going to say, Sven, who built the Umbra, the Codegarden bar, the virtual Codegarden bar. For me, that was a highlight of the event, and actually something that you can't capture the joy and the atmosphere that actually created for people. It was very simple. Kind of quick engagement on Twitter, and then you got a bit of fun out of it. But that's not something that they can just record and put on YouTube. It's not something that, unless you were taking part in the event, you could recreate the feeling that gave. So there's a lot of little things like that happened throughout the event that actually made it feel like an Umbraco event. Which is
and Sven still has some logs on Azure from what he said, and it would be really interesting case study to see how interactive it was, how many requests it created, because it was something what people used, and I still see tweets with Codegarden bar to serve some another coffee. I
think a few people were continuing throughout the weekend and into early this week, but I think the bar may have been closed now. I think.
Ah, damn it. Till to the next year, but in the real life then.
Yeah.
But speaking about real life, we saw also some behind the scenes building blocks from Arnold from HQ. How even was organized there, because of course there was a whole army of people involved to make it even virtual and serve for us. And there was also a picture with really nice highlights to and reference to the what's the English name for that?
The caravan. It's the
caravan.
Partner's paradise, where it looks a bit I don't know, gloomy, sitting there in a warehouse all on its own. But if you zoom in there, you can see the Partners Paradise caravan, which is normally set up at Codegarden with some AstroTurf and like nice lights and stuff, just to make it look friendly and welcoming. It doesn't look too friendly or welcoming.
You can see that some of the HQers are missing it, as Mike stated here. It's small things, right, which are making these memories even better. Plus, we have a secret small access to personal album from Arnold about some of the preparations and behind the scenes here. I'm sure, and we are sure, that some of these pictures will be shared after all, because it just shows how much of an effort and how much of the work was placed and put to make it all happen. So we just saw a small bit of it just in front of our monitors, but we can all admire and see how it was looking from behind the scenes. And of course, Lottie, Emma, and people who were there, they were sharing some of the insights on Instagram and Twitters as well, if people follows their accounts. But here it looks, it just proves how many people even were involved there.
There's a big team behind the scenes, and there's a really nice picture, maybe far towards the end actually, of the whole team, or as many of the team as they could gather, standing together, kind of relieved that it's all over, I think.
So this is from after show, which we've mentioned. Some rabbit reveal, some of the unicorns flying around, and the picture which you're talking about is here, right? It's after show. After show.
Exactly, and it's just lovely to see so many smiley faces and people. I know the feeling. It's relief when it's just relief. That everyone's like, thank goodness we don't have to hear complaints about Twebcast again for another year.
But then, speaking about people involved, again, big kudos to all of them. We had the pleasure also to be involved in some of the collaborations with producers. They've made an amazing job there. I was fully blown away after we've went off from the stream, how professional it was and how we were made to look professional. Because obviously we are not professionals.
This is not something that anyone that watched the after show. You're probably not aware of everything that had gone on in the background there, which is that we'd literally pulled something together in the 24 hours prior, which is how we do things with umbraCoffee anyway. So that's fine. That's normal. We decided to lead with a nice surprise where we invited the one and only Anthony Dang to do a introduction song piece of music. We had absolutely no idea what he was going to do. It was a complete gamble. It was just let him do what he wants.
Delivered.
Let him do what he wants, and let's just hope that it's not too inappropriate, as he has often been in the past. And it was very entertaining. But because the way it was done, Marcin and I were in the studio, and we had a producer there. We were talking with the producer. The producer was kind of dealing with everything in the background. We had absolutely no idea what was going on. So when you saw it was when we saw it. It was as much a surprise as it was for anyone. But throughout, as you said, Marcin, producers were great. They were literally in our ears the whole time, talking to us, saying, "Okay, we're going to go to this video now. It's going to do
5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds." That was so professional.
So professional.
Plus, I was allowed to pull the plug off from the Codegarden. So I'm really curious how it was.
We do really need to try and get this video, I think, somewhere.
Warren also messaged that what he missed, and you missed a lot then. if we are talking about this, so it was great. Again, coming back to the initial point, I think it was a lot more than we've all expected to be. And I think we need to be all proud of whole HQ, everyone who was involved, all the speakers and everyone else who made it happen. And just follow and move on and just await the next events on the roadmap.
For sure. That said, I cannot wait for it to be back in person. I really want to be back in Denmark. And the weather, you said Emma and Lottie and Co sharing pictures, the weather looked amazing. We had a couple of years back where Codegarden, everyone got sunburnt and it was all great, and then one year where it kind of rained and it was a bit miserable, but it looked glorious. So that made me really, really, really miss it. I saw the photo of Arnold's car parked outside HQ on the Tuesday, He said, "Where's everyone for the pre-party?" And I was so tempted to just jump on a plane and show up. It looked so good.
That would be a nice surprise. Call me next time, we can organize it.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully next year, and we will be all back there. But definitely rewatch whatever will be released on YouTube. If you are interested in the content, share what you've learned, and let us all know if you enjoyed it as much as we did. That would be probably something what we can highlight as well the next time. Following the vibe of Codegarden, it was usually the time when people just hacked something together as well. There was even hack space created on the Codegarden's venue back in the days. I believe that there will be more output and more packages, more of the work to be highlighted soon, and I really and truly hope for it. But also some other people did some great job in the meantime, and in this week, it was released this week, and we can highlight some of these, of course. Starting from Ali from our team, who released a package called Hider. It was something that was released last week, but without any README and information about the package yet. And I really love this README. Of course,
true Ali style, doing something sloppy and.
But to be honest, package this does a great job, because it combines the functionalities from two packages which were not available on V8 yet, and it allows to hide some properties, do some kind of magic of visual representation of what's visible for specific users in specific roles, specific groups, and specific content elements. A lot of functionality here which is not reflected by this UI yet, but power is really there. But these notes are truly Ali style, and Imran is going to the court because he thinks that his last name was used inappropriate. It'll
take a while. We're still suing the Umbraco D team over the umbraCoffee logo.
Yes, exactly. It takes time, but patience is just worth, because we will probably get a lot of money from that. So Umbraco Hider is the first one. Deploy Gold mode with the new release is the second one. I probably mentioned it back a couple of weeks ago. It's one of my favorites packages recently. I really love it, and yeah, there is a new release with some filters and some new viewings of the new cache data.
I saw that Dan said he's actually brought some of the improvements and features he's added to the .NET Core, the V9 version, into the V8 version, so that people can enjoy those too, which is really nice.
Yeah. Yep, so that's good. New version of this one. And there is a package called Media Extended Search, which is a plugin for Umbraco version 7. And yeah, it seems like something what helps to search across the media for V7. And what's interesting here, I think, is like there are still packages and elements to be being released for V7, which is right now we are talking about migration to .NET Core, V9, all the crazy challenges ahead. But we cannot forget that there is still a lot of people and a lot of projects who are using V7 and even V6.
I had the pleasure of doing something on a V7 site this week. We're trying to fix a bug on a V7 site this week, and all the things that I'm used to being able to do in V8, you can't do those. And it did feel a bit weird, but I guess if you've not taken that leap, gone through the little bit of pain that was involved in learning the differences between 7 and 8, and you've never really done much 8, V7 still very much works. It's still very much alive, and you can build things with it. And still in moderate support, I think, for security and stuff. So there's no reason why you should be totally ditching 7 just yet. That said, a client asked us the other day, should we upgrade from 7 to 8? And we said, actually, probably not. Maybe wait until V9, and we'll do a rebuild or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what we also did with one of the big sites which we have still running on V7. The decision was made to pause migration to V8 and just await the V9 to make it properly to the proper and the new version of Umbraco. If we're speaking about new versions, that's probably a good segue to something outside of the Umbraco world, but something what affects us all, which is Visual Studio 2022 preview. and it's we are all talking about performance, all the crazy improvements in the software which we are building and which we are using when it comes to Umbraco. But here it's worth mentioning, we don't have any benchmarks here, but it's it's drastically improving all the performance because Visual Studio finally moved to 64-bit
64-bit.
version.
You wouldn't have thought that a program as complex as that would have been the 20 years of its history, 20 plus years of its history would have been 32-bit architecture and never changed away from it. But no, they've finally done that. From one of the Microsoft product group interactions I was part of, they shared that they've for so long been trying to optimize and optimize and optimize within that 32-bit architecture, and it's got to the point where they cannot optimize any further, and things that are slow are just slow because that's as fast as they possibly could be on that architecture. So they've rewritten a whole bunch of stuff internally. This is the first preview, but I think from what everyone's been saying, it's a lot faster and feels a lot more stable with certain things that would have crashed or hung Visual Studio before, which is nice. And I know this is a very political thing. There's a bunch of Rider fans that are like diehard. Rider's the best thing out there, and I know there's a bunch of diehard ReSharper fans. I'm neither of those. I've been clean for several years, but there is a lot of, again, every single improvement that comes to Visual Studio, I think, just makes Rider they're just catching up. A lot of stuff that's in ReSharper, the keyboard shortcuts and things, are coming into Visual Studio. And I saw someone the other day, I can't remember who it was, but they said Shannon, it was Shannon. He said he's been running the preview versions of Visual Studio pretty much constantly forever, and maybe 1 or 2 times a month has to open main Visual Studio because something doesn't work in the previews. You can use the bleeding edge versions and they're kind of stable, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So Warren's in the chat saying he's been using it as well. Maybe give it a go.
Yeah.
Maybe give it a go.
That's exactly what I was doing as well. I had 2 simultaneously running versions of Preview plus the stable one, and thanks to the fact that they are working completely separately, I was able to perform most of the work on the Preview version as well. And I truly was a ReSharperaholic back in the days, and now I can completely live without it. And there is a lot of things which are already moved there, but probably more to come as well.
And there's still a lot of community extensions as well that do a lot of the stuff that maybe isn't baked in, which is nice. The thing that's going to be interesting for me is as we move to V9 and .NET Core, I'm on a Mac, love my Mac. Visual Studio is obviously Windows only. Am I going to take the plunge and go cold turkey, no Windows? We're just going to use
all the way.
VS Code or even code spaces or something, and go proper hardcore cross-platform stuff. Now, I think for some projects for a short while that's not going to be realistic. I'm still going to need Visual Studio, but I wonder what's the preference going to be. Is it going to be that I want? Am I going to get everything I need out of VS Code, and do I no longer need the weighty Visual Studio, or am I going to find, as I have done currently, you have to install
or you will use Rider, start CrossFit.
I see
some other crazy stuff.
I'm not going near it.
We'll see. I'm also curious because always when I was making some buying decisions of laptops, it was always like, okay, I had a Mac back in the days, but it was just too much efforts to make it all work together, and I decided at some point, I don't need it. I use Windows 99% of the time, so who am I fooling? So it was
super brand new Macs with their M1 chip does not run Windows because it's an ARM architecture, and you can run. There's WinARM, which is a Windows distribution of ARM, an ARM distribution of Windows, but you can run it there. But most of the programs that you want, like Visual Studio, will not run on WinARM. So
problem solved.
So you have to have like a cloud VM or something if you want to do Windows dev. It's going to be an interesting one for me. I'm kind of thinking VS Code is the way to go. I'd quite like to just be able to live in my Mac.
Yeah, I still have team members who are just purely in love with VS Code. And there's probably infinite list of plugins and packages which are making it even more usable and user friendly. So yeah, it's just something what we probably need to pay more attention to again, and it will be all possible thanks to the .NET Core
There's even for these diehard ReSharper fans, there's an extension called Fake Sharper, which lets you run effectively the ReSharper CLI and all the commands in the background in VS Code if you really want to go that far. But then maybe you can be like Bianca and you can write it.
Yeah. Again, that's the future. Plus, there are some other tools which are really making their presence right now in the .NET world. One of them was .NET Boxed, which
this one is really old.
It is old, but this is something what I saw as well recently.
Yeah, it was highlighted in some conversation on Twitter about people don't appreciate actually Automapper and how dangerous it can be and how painful it can be. I've seen it used very slapdash. This blog post is fantastic for one, explaining why Automapper isn't the best solution in many mapping cases with benchmarks, which I'm sure you'll like, Marcin. And then there is an alternative built by this guy at Microsoft, which is a completely zero allocations object mapper, which is really cool. And it reminds me, because in Umbraco, we've of course got the Umbraco mapper, but it's a manual mapping. It's very, very kind of simple, basic mapping, but it follows a very similar pattern to how the .NET Boxed mapper works, which again just shows how there was some talk last week of Umbraco starting to align more and more with just the way .NET does things. It's just more or less pure .NET, not Umbraco-ified, which is really, really nice. So we're kind of slowly getting there. This was a good example of that.
Yeah, I think back in the days when we were even giving our talk about performance on the Codegarden, I remembered how we were proud and also how many discussions we've joined then about these allocations, these things which are making more impact on our software more and more, and now it can be even more important, especially in the days of performance, security, and stuff like that. So every millisecond matters, and here if we have zero allocated mappers, we can really go into the benchmarks and comparisons. And I really liked one thing here, and I now remember when it popped out in my Twitter threads, because Entity Framework core team released on the recent Microsoft event that they are removed a lot of allocations and problems also, and released some of the performance in the Entity Framework core for the new version. And here the blog creator also compares it with migrations and the core mechanisms there, and Dapper, which is probably the most used mapper across the .NET developers besides Automapper. So it's good. I still await some of the good comparisons between the mappers, but I'm fully aware of this.
Down here, there's a really nice benchmark of the three. So this is just eye-opening. The fact that this is Automapper on the left, this is just in the center. There's just going new object and actually like creating, and then the box mapper one, which is again just incredible that we're maybe 1 or 2 times as slow as the actual manually creating that map. That's really, really smart. But it just proves how bad a performance drain Automapper is if used incorrectly. I know there's some caveats here that it's actually the performance is a bit different on .NET Core. It's a bit closer, but still incredible.
Yeah, that's true. So if you are a huge fan of performance and you want to use mappers more and more, make sure you will get there and see this mapper in the action. And am I still here or I got lost?
You're a bit jittery, but you're still here.
I can't click the window to change the way how I present, but yeah, I'm back. So my edge just frozen. So yeah, of course, it's worth mentioning that the links and everything what we are discussing here will be listed down below the video, so you don't need to search for it. We will make it easier for you. That's from around the web section, and other things which we wanted to highlight here. There is a blog post written by Purnima about using Strawberry Shake to connect to Umbraco Hardcore GraphQL endpoint, and that's something what I completely missed this week.
So this was released last Friday, and it was actually the content of her Blazor talk from Blazor Days, which I think was yesterday, where her and Carol both equally did their talks. But yeah, I think this is kind of part of that, and it looks really good. we've become used to this incredibly high quality technical content. It's, detailed,
cool.
really good blog posts, and doing some interesting things. Stuff that I've not had to do this in my day to day just yet. So looks pretty cool.
Yeah, cool. And Dennis also released a blog post titled "Testing the Unstable with the Adapter Design Pattern." So combination of some patterns and testing, and it's good to see Dennis back with the blogging. And this blog post is again a highlight of explorations and some of the concepts behind the unit testing here, with some cool takeaways. The next is a webinar, which I didn't attend, but I saw it was really well prepared, and again, it highlights the Uskin side builder, which we were also highlighting a couple weeks ago. So whoever didn't see Uskin in action, and Uskin was also awarded this year for I cannot remember the category, which category it was, but
in the package awards.
Yeah, but still, Uskin and the side builder functionality is something really cool. And here is the demo of how it works, what it can do, and how it can help you, maybe in building your applications with Umbraco.
Uskin won best theme for Umbraco.
Best theme. Okay, that's cool. So yeah, the link here with the link to the video will be, of course, released. And last but not least on our list are two new hires on Umbraco HQ. Officially released as a blog post. First of them is let me just zoom in. It's Sergio. I'm not zooming out. Yep. So it's Sergio, new SWAT member, SWAT team member, originally from Romania, now living in Denmark. And the next is a familiar face for some of us, traveling across the Europe with Arnold today to Codegarden this year. Ronald, the remote enthusiast, as how it is titled here. So yeah, good, hello and hi to the new team members. And of course, if you want to catch up everything about the new team members, there is no subsection on the blog on Umbraco, but always there are blogs highlighting new personas in the team, and team is constantly growing. I was checking some stats from Keynote after having it released this week. So yeah, it's still great to see the team is growing. The Umbraco is growing.
They're going to reach 100 employees within a couple of months. They're very, very close, 90 odd.
Yeah, that's nice. We'll, of course, be highlighting all of this if we will see the new blog posts and new people joining. Maybe we'll invite some of them in the future umbraCoffees to discuss some various things about their responsibilities and their involvement to the project. And of course, as usual, we'll highlight every good work and everything what is Umbraco related to, and will be possible to be tracked by our patient eyes and algorithms tracking it on various places around the web. That's all probably. If we missed anything, let us know, as usual. And a standard blog here, which is like, subscribe, and do it, please. We hope to share more materials. I think we still need to get back to the Lungos and probably promote it. And we have some ideas coming out from Codegarden for some Lungo episodes outside of umbraCoffee segments. But yeah, you need to subscribe to the channel to be alarmed and informed about the new segments and new videos. So do it and share it with your team members if you found it useful.
Indeed.
And that's it. And if everything, if we'll miss anything, we'll probably put it on the list down below the video, and we'll see each other on the next week as usual. Right?
We will. Have a nice weekend.
Have a nice